So put your hands together for Andy Akangah.
I don't wanna see you come back. I don't wanna see you come back now. I don't wanna see you come back. I don't wanna see.
Thanks so much. That was a great intro. All right. Oh, yeah. All right. Man, I don't know about you, but I was no good in university. I flew halfway across the world to another country, a different culture, all to make my parents proud. And it's not going well. I failed 2 classes so far. I got a lock in. I got a lot of pressure on me. But instead, I'm daydreaming. We're in class studying marketing, which I thought would be more like Mad Men, where I get to work with design and study thought-provoking ideas. But so far, it's quite dull. I'm looking at the teacher like, what is he on about? I'm looking at my books, these bulky, expensive bricks. I have to carry those heavy encyclopedias all day. And I'm like, how much is there to say? And you know what? Actually, I got things to say. So for fun, I start to write down my own version of something that's actually interesting. Like encyclopedia. The complete otherwise guide to finding and rediscovering your flow. To get to know me, let's flip through my encyclopedia in alphabetical order. You all know me as AKARTS, but my real name is Andy Akangah. My first appearance as an artist was the Aftermath exhibition in 2019, but I've been around longer, since 2014. My occupation, at the time, it should be student, but I'm daydreaming, so let's just put daydreamer. Benin. This is where I flew halfway across the world from. Raise your hand if you know what that is. Okay. Well, it's a small country in West Africa. Beautiful, surrounded by water, and I miss it a lot. And it's where I had my earliest memory, which was Dragon Ball. I don't know, something about it changed my brain chemistry. If you don't know, it's one of the best-selling manga and most watched anime of all time. What's it about? A whole lot, but mainly about not giving up and pushing past limits. It sounds bizarre, but my core identity was all about it. I was enthralled by the storytelling, the colors, the way things moved. I would sneak away from my room at like 8, 7 to watch episodes until midnight. Dragon Ball led me to drawing. Growing up, it felt like I was always drawing after Dragon Ball Z episode or manga panels. I apparently got good enough to draw actual people. My mom always tells the story that when guests came to visit us, I'll hide somewhere, draw their portraits, and hand it to them on the way out. Or so she says, I don't remember that at all. Let's see. I like telling this story. I was born in school. I was failing classes, but I was born in school. And I thought I should sell my drawings, and Etsy seemed interesting. I randomly opened a store, put social information, all the basics. I went out for an errand, and I came back to a sale. It's been crazy ever since. Like, I used to say that the art was going on tour. That's how crazy things were. I myself had to get a visa to all the places where the art was being shipped up to. I wasn't just drawing, I was running a business. At first, I was selling prints and home goods. Somehow, managing customers, handling orders, and designing pieces came naturally to me. More than that, it was exciting. Later, I started a clothing line working with blanks and putting my drawings on them. Then I started to collaborate with local tailors. Eventually, I worked with manufacturers overseas to create knits, loungewear, outerwear, designing tech packs, going over swatches, and staying up late into the morning because there's a 12-hour difference. But actually, there's another thing that kept me up at night when I was growing up. I ruined my eyesight reading Harry Potter with dim light well into the wee hours of the morning. I was obsessed like we all were until our attention span turned to mush So yeah, I wanted to be a writer at one point, but I felt like I was just going to write another Harry Potter clone. Looking back, I had quite a few pastimes in search of myself. I tried painting, but I didn't like how permanent it felt. I wrote poetry, but let's be real, I was just trying to impress girls. I did photography, and I was good at photography. Like, I shot weddings and stuff, but I felt like I wasn't saying anything new, at least not to me. And that's why it dawned on me, am I a jack of all trades? A master of none? And that's fine, but I wanted to be good at something. Excellent, even. Especially with all the stakes and pressure on me. But I remembered something. Photoshop. I got a new laptop in high school, and it came with Photoshop Express, and it was mind-blowing. I would do edits of myself being in an action role or studying Tollbury City. And now, I'm back in my still marketing classroom. I look up and I think to myself, wait, Photoshop. That's right. I love Photoshop. It was like the most fun I had being me. I was on there every single day, trying out different filters, tools, adjustment layers. It was a wonderland. What I love about Photoshop was how you could do something in about 30 different ways. It was up to me, it was malleable. I love this so much that now something had taken over my identity, and it was to be an artist, a designer, creating something that would empower people. And that's when I became AKARTS. So I started to freelance, and I would design flyers for events back home in West Africa. Then when I moved to Ottawa for school, I plastered posters all over campus, advertising my design work. But there was a problem. Back home, Photoshop was rare. Being the guy who knew Photoshop made me valuable. Abroad and in Ottawa, everyone already was the guy. Oh, they knew a guy, so to speak. My skill set didn't feel special anymore. So I packed it up, focused on school, graduated. Okay, now to do some admin stuff, right? And then COVID-19 happened. No job, no work. My degree just getting some dust on it. But I decided to make something out of it all. I got a retail job in the National Gallery of Canada's bookstore. And bookstores are my happy place, by the way. I always feel overwhelmed and overstimulated, but it's quite nice to be present and alive in a bookstore because it just reminds me that every book in there came from someone who, alive or dead, dare to write, dare to finish something, and they can still be heard. And it provided to me a great distraction when I was working at the gallery's gift shop that was filled with books. It would be extremely slow, especially during COVID, so I would just read books about artists, or books about art, or books about marketing your art, or books about art. You get the idea. And while I was consuming these books, my brain was at rest. And I remember having so many ideas from working at the gallery. Like, there's times where I want to go back and just ask if I can just just work there for a bit. And later, I think I found out what that came to be. In one episode of the sitcom The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon, a scientist, is struggling with an experiment. He develops a theory about the value of doing nothing when he remembers that his idol, Einstein, had a number of major discoveries while working a desk job at an office, essentially arguing that sometimes not actively working can lead to breakthroughs. And I think about that all the time. If you ask anyone working at the gallery at the same time as me, they'll tell you I'll always be grabbing notes to write ideas on at the cash counter. I tweeted this in 2018. It's kind of a wild concept. You can discover new songs, new shows, new books at any time you please, and they could change your life big time. Indulge in distractions. Years later, I understood why I was so fascinated with Dragon Ball and Harry Potter. It was the way it was everywhere. Not just as books, but in movies, amusement park, toys. And sure, you could just call it licensing if you want to be boring. But I was stuck on the beauty that was to see something adapted in many, many ways, all with their lives of their own, with twists and improvements. or new ways to look at them. Think about anime, for example. All artists draw differently, and yet, when a studio picks up a manga to adapt, the whole staff has to recreate, emulate, adapt the artist's drawings and style. They design model sheets that animators have to follow faithfully. The same studio can push out 5 anime from 5 different artists, and they will all look extremely different because they respect the artist's style. So, it's through drawing, writing, and photography, the skills that I picked up but I thought were inconsequential all led towards one clear idea: adaptation. It gave me a state of flow like no other. Writing helped me talk about myself to press or write better content on my website. And photography helped me shoot my clothing, manage models, and have an eye for fashion. The book, Still Like an Artist, confirmed to me that it was okay to be inspired by something prior and add your twist to it. It's okay to adapt. It's okay to put your stamp on something. It's like a dialogue. Start copying what you love. Copy, copy, copy. At the end of the copy, you'll find yourself. And so, I designed comic book and hip-hop inspired mashups, bringing together different worlds. Different visual languages from Belgian bande dessinée, Western comics, Japanese manga. Here you can see 50 Cent mashed up with Cyborg from DC Comics, Kendrick from LA mashed up with the West Coast Avengers, Mike Miller crossed with Severance. All these pieces make sense when you're part of that fandom and can see the Easter eggs. And that's what I liked most. I became obsessed with wanting to say new things based on existing ideas and have a cheeky or clever say in it. First, learn different things, then learn how to say things differently. Everything I learned was like a toolbox that later led me to see things in a whole new way. I began to see everything as something that's able to shift or change nature. Like adapting a basketball rages as comic book panels for a social piece for the NBA, making comics for Atletico Madrid Soccer Club, Atletico Ottawa, or adapting an encyclopedia for a slide deck. Wait, I have one more. Adapting a Doja Cat and Catwoman crossover into knits and a button-up that walked runways. I mentioned I was running an Etsy empire. What I didn't mention is that I lost it. I got booted off Etsy. Why? What happened? The plan worked too well. It was incredibly overwhelming, and I wasn't ready for it. It was simply more that I bargained for as a kid who had to focus on his studies. Like there were nights where I had to pick between studying for an exam, which my status as an immigrant depended on, or shipping orders for people that needed it for the holidays. So yeah, I got booted off. Too many complaints, missed shipments, and that was that. It was crushing. I remember how Peter, right there, the Etsy employee who was in charge of my seller profile, actually bought my merch. And he worked hard to help me bring my account back in good standing. But it was too late. I'll never forget the email when it came down. It felt like I paid a price for wanting to do something well. It kind of reminded me of the hero's journey I read so much about in books. And if that was the case, I had to be more responsible. Learn from this and bounce back. I moved over to Shopify and got hard on myself to produce not only good work, but be on top of things. Then the work became about engagement and sales. It stopped being fun. Losing Etsy had to mean something. I had to be transformed. I realized things were more interesting for me when I changed the context and saw everything as a training arc, similar to the anime I grew up watching. I enjoy learning new things, like making my new brushes, studying the craft. And suddenly, this happened. Who might that be? He's wearing a mask, but you can see he's a handsome fella. I can kind of see him riding a big worm. Right, that's actor Timothée Chamalet wearing my merch. and it changed everything. Like, if Etsy was crazy, this was like ridiculous in the best way possible. It cemented my work, led to sales for years in over 65 countries, hundreds of cities. It got featured on Esquire. Scammers were stealing the art and selling counterfeits on Etsy, funny enough. A Redbubble, and I could go on and on. My friends and I had to report all those sellers, comment under the post to bring people back to my website. And all from design I made 4 years ago. Treat every piece that you make like it's your last, because everything you do matters, you just don't know when it will. Your art can have a life of its own. So I want to take about the momentum. So I decided to learn again from the basics and teach myself anatomy, making better comics. And then I'll teach those things to students. I guest taught international business at Ottawa, funny enough. But I did some panels at high schools and middle schools from the Ottawa School Board. I taught art workshops. I started to challenge myself by adapting my work in clothing, designing mindfully. I targeted customers going to concerts with tailored ads to shop my fan merch I made, another form of adaptation. Do your homework. It's through that I was able to gain more confidence and reach out to press saying, hey, I'm here, using my degree, and it worked. I entered some calls for artists, and it worked. And I was able to get into the world of exhibitions, yet again, adapting my work in physical spaces. And this is what I mean when I refer to myself as a superhero, like the stuff I watched growing up, and my work as something that can be adapted. And if I may, there's something from the encyclopedia that I want to leave you with. Let me find it. Crossover. See yourself as a superhero and reference yourself and your own lore. Work with other people in your niche or completely outside of it. I thought about a few ways to see it, and the easiest way to break it down is with Spider-Man for some reason. The first case to a good crossover is to reference something that is already out there, like Spider-Man X Spider-Man, which is a Spider-Verse, where multiple Spider-Man from different universes come together to fight a common threat. Or like me, playing on older pieces to make better ones, or offshoots of it. The second case is when Spider-Man crosses over with another hero, like Spider-Man and Superman, the first intercompany crossover comic featuring the pair teaming up. Or, like me working with a past panelist from the Ottawa Design Club to design a 4-feet comic book that links a paper practice to my comic book art. And finally, Spider-Man with another entity. In this case, the Spider-Man Adidas sneakers featuring Spider-Man themes, blending superhero storytelling with fashion culture, but it has nothing to do with comics. Or, like me, we created a beer label way out of my niche and comfort zone with the US Embassy and Straight Dog Brewing, and learning so much about beer label designs. What I'm trying to say is, when the work stops feeling fun, adapt it in a new way. That's it. Now you're caught up. From a kid who was daydreaming and failing classes, my work is now on the largest transparent LED screen in North America. So maybe the last thing I can leave you with, just keep going. Thank you.